Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, here's kind of what's going on. We're kind of experiencing a change of schedule. Part of this is because my life has kind of gone insane lately. There's been a lot of changes. Some I can't really talk about, some I can. Alongside that, um, we're going to hold off on doing a video on Rome and Jerusalem by Moses Hess. It's an important book as far as like Zionism, especially labor Zionism, and kind of how a lot of the fears that Jews have around nationalism was already starting to rear its head in the 1850s, 60s, and 70s. And alongside that, the book just has a lot of the language of this time period, which, as someone who lives in the 2020s, is uncomfortable. And while I did say history and I read original sources quite a bit, to a certain degree, I am used to this, but not to the point I would put it on YouTube. So, what we're doing instead is I'm actually trying to embrace the classics again, and we're going to be tackling Paradise Lost. And while we will eventually try to do Mansfield Park, head back to Dracula, head back to Frankenstein, and since since it does look like we're doing okay again as far as the taking of Ireland goes. It took a while for you guys to kind of show interest in that book, but it looks like there is a small audience for it. We will return to some of my previous attempts at classic readings, but Milton's kind of my favorite, and a lot of it is both. I find Paradise Lost to be a compelling epic poem, epic tragedy, because in a lot of ways, the pain, the hurt, the self loathing, the self hatred, the jealousy, pride, all that is very familiar to us. All that has to do with, granted, these are celestial beings, but they're very human. Like, and to another point, Milton's Paradise Lost kind of set the track for like a lot of other tragedies and romantic and proto-romantic books. Paradise Lost appears in Frankenstein. Um, and alongside that, a lot of our modern image of the devil is Paradise Lost. So, in a lot of ways, even if no one has read Paradise Lost, everyone kind of has the idea that its influence is still very much alive and well, especially if you have watched the show Lucifer. And to a certain degree, the Sandman's devil is still kind of in the same vein as Lucifer. So, alongside that, we do kind of see that influence in writings from Neil Gaiman. And to a certain degree, Paradise Lost is also kind of one of the last remaining Commonwealth and late Stuart era writing that we can identify and also understand the influence. So, what does that all mean? Milton played a very important part in, if not directly leading, at least writing the pamphlets, creating the propaganda, and making the arguments for why King Charles the First had to die. And Milton was a he was aligned with the Puritan movement and was at least from time to time on speaking terms with the wider Presbyterian community of England and Scotland at that time. He wrote a lot of the works defending the Commonwealth, trying to get the wider European world to kind of understand the Commonwealth's happening. This is what we're doing. He wrote a lot about why King Charles the First had to die. Um, because of how he was making a lot of the arguments that was defending the Commonwealth, he kind of was starting to go in poor health, and alongside that, he went through several unhappy marriages. A lot of his kids died young, and on top of that, his health was failing. So by the time that we get the restoration of the Stuart monarchy under King Charles II, the Merry Monarch, who, even by my definition, is a giant philanderer. Anyway, because Milton was already in poor health, and Charles kind of had to, for the lack of better words, um, kind of had to maintain a sense of consolidation and conciliation that meant that he really couldn't go after everyone involved in the fall of his father. That didn't mean he wouldn't try to humiliate people, like the the execution of the corpse of Oliver Cromwell and two of the other people who sentenced his father to die. So it wasn't like Charles wasn't above humiliation and trying to find ways around the agreement that allowed for the restoration of the monarchy, tried to find, if not going directly against it, finding wording that he could use to defend himself. So it was it's kind of with this background that we get Paradise Lost, and alongside it, a level of world building you do have to appreciate, and a level of drama tragedy that you can tell that Milton spent a lot of his time trying to both making poems and trying to write stuff for the stage. Um, we will unpack more of Paradise Lost and starting the readings as we kind of get underway in this new series. Have a good rest of your day.